I would not suggest people going through a consultant. If you are really lazy, if you do not have time on hand, if you have extra money in your pocket, I will not say that it was easy. Initially, it was very hard. There were times that I would think that I'm just stuck in quicksand. If you come with more than one child, that makes life a lot easier. I mean, just forget about your interview. Use your experience to score a job here. Not at all. Not even once. I think they're very open. They're very respectful. There are times when I pray at least 3 times at work.
Hello friends, this video is a podcast video where I introduce you to someone who came as a single parent and immigrated to Canada while being on a split family setup with a child. So this mother and child moved to Canada as an immigrant, and she was able to not only assimilate herself in the Canadian society, but was also able to successfully find a job and move up the ranks in her job. So without further delay, let's get into the podcast. Hello friends, I have with me a very special guest, Tooba Suleman. So I've known her, or our families have known each other for quite some time now. My wife has known her since childhood, but I've known her since our time in Dubai. And when we immigrated to Canada, it was after a year time that Tooba, as well with her daughter, she immigrated to Canada. So what we want to explore today with her is actually to understand what was her process of deciding whether and how she should come to Canada, how did she make the move to Canada, and then how as a woman was she able to find a job for herself in Canada and was able to assimilate well in the Canadian society and the Canadian culture. But before going that, I will just pass on the mic to Tooba, and if she can just kind of introduce herself, where is she from, who is she, so kind of you all have an idea, and then we'll explore more into her move to Canada thereafter. So Tooba, all to you.
Hi, as Behrouz mentioned, my name is Tooba, and we're originally from Pakistan. Me and my family, all 3 of us, lived in Pakistan for all our life till I was born, and then we moved. This was my daughter, by the way, and that's when we moved to Dubai when she was, I think, 5 months old. So she's lived all her life outside of Pakistan, which is 8 years of her life in Dubai, and then we moved to Canada in 2019 when she was exactly 8 years old. And since then, we've been living in Oakville, Ontario here, and she's, mashallah, 12 now.
That's nice. Thank you, Tooba. So let's start with why did you decide to move to Canada, by the way? A good life in Dubai, that's kind of a question everyone even asks me here, which is, especially when you talk to the Canadians here and you tell them the kind of life or the luxury we had in Dubai, the kind of incomes you are able to make there, they kind of at times get puzzled as to why do we move here. So what was the decision-making process for you to move here, and how did you kind of, if you can also talk about the process of moving to Canada, the application and also which process did you come through and how was the decision?
That's a very good question, and everybody, like you said, everybody asks you. Everybody every now and then keeps asking me, why did I decide to move here? Because we had a pretty good lifestyle in Dubai. It's as compared to Canada, incomes are tax-free. If you have a good, well-paying job, then obviously people here in this part of the world say, why did you even move here? The weather's perfect, everything's easy, you get help around. So as you know, Behrouz, you can totally relate that it's not long-term over there. You're in Dubai if you have a job. The day you don't have a job there, the day they let go of you or you decide to quit, that you get exactly 1 month from there and then just pack up and leave. So it's not long-term. No matter how many years you live there, you don't get any sort of citizenship or anything. So for your kids, you have to make a decision for their better future sometimes, and then you have to make a move. So this was our main reason for choosing Canada. Many of our friends and family had already done that and they were happy with their decision, so we decided to go ahead with it and give it a try.
That's nice. Yeah. So and how did you apply for Canada? Like, what was the process like? This was through the federal skilled, I
process was
assume?
not easy. As soon as we landed in Dubai, we kind of started making up our mind because we saw our friends, some of them. It was a bad time at that time. Dubai hit recession around 2014. It was, people were losing jobs left, right, and center. And we saw that people had to pack up and leave. So we decided to kind of pursue another path and take up immigration or something. So we decided to talk to immigration consultants and many other people. Some of our friends had already gone, like I mentioned, so we started talking to them. And then our first try was through a consultancy, like a consultant, and we even paid them a huge amount, but we were not able to get through. So later on, some of our friends, including you guys and another couple, they guided us and they said, now the systems have changed. There's express entry system. You can do it all online and it's pretty fast. So we decided to go up to that. I was later, we decided to try with me being the primary applicant. So we tried it that way, and within a matter of months, we got the ITA.
Okay, that's nice. So another question, which is why Canada, why not Australia for that matter? Because that's another easy or more accessible immigrant country or immigrant-friendly country. Why did you choose Canada?
Because some of our friends and family were already here, so we thought that it would be easy to adjust with people that you know already being there, and they were sort of helping us and guiding us. So Australia was, we knew somebody there, but it was just one family, and it's a huge country, you know. Here everybody pretty much moved to Toronto, the GTA area, so it was easier.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? When people ask me, I usually also say that you should first and foremost see where you can socially assimilate. Yeah. And that is why Canada was kind of a choice for us as well. For my wife, she had a lot of family here. We also had a couple of friends here. So I thought it would be easy for us to assimilate, and that's why it was a choice. Plus, I also feel, although people argue that for Australia, the weather is pretty good, but it's also very isolated from the world, just how geographically it's positioned. So another question, which is, would you recommend going through the route of an agent or a lawyer? Most of people do ask that question as well. You said you didn't, or you said initially you did, but then it didn't work out for you. So what would be your recommendation for someone who's working out or thinking about coming to Canada?
I think these days everything's pretty easy online. So I would not suggest people going through a consultant. If you are really lazy, if you do not have time on hand, if you have extra money in your pockets, maybe you can go ahead with that. But if you have a little bit of know-how, and if you have your paperwork, like basically what you do is even to the consultants, they tell you, okay, I need this now, I need that now. So basically you're doing most of the work anyways, right? Not that they're doing it for you. They ask you for things and then they just put it in and file it for you. So the first time we went there, we were pretty new in Dubai and everybody was going through consultants. That's why we thought we should go also. But then the second time we decided to do it, give it a shot ourselves, and we were able to get it done.
Yeah, true.
It's pretty simple. Just like taxes these days, people have started doing it on their own, and it's pretty easy, and it's not such a difficult job. But yes, I understand not everybody has that know-how about things. Not everybody has time on hand, so it's kind of difficult for them to do it.
No, I completely agree. And also there are people who fear that what if I make a mistake and then my application would just get cancelled and all. And I go like, these people are very fair. Like they just want you to fill a proper form. And even if there's a mistake, by the way, I did make a mistake in my form, and they sent me a letter back saying that you missed this particular you've kept this particular field blank. Can you just update it? And I did. So it just delayed my process by, let's say, a month or two, but I was able to save a lot of fees that I would have paid to the lawyers or the agents. And it was like the process was seamless, because it's not like they will penalize you or punish you. They're just fair people. They just want the information that they need, and that's all.
That's what I was going to say, that sometimes you do end up making mistakes, or you forget about some things, then they always ask you for more documents, or they send it back to you and say that you have to do this and send it back to us. So it might delay the process, but yes, they're very fair.
Cool. Thank you. Now let's come to a question which, as you notice up till now, the questions I was asking, I also had some answer to them because I've gone through them as well.
Yeah.
But this question is very much specific to you, and I'm sure there are many others who would have the same question, which is that you came to Canada on a split arrangement where your husband, who's my friend as well, Suleman, he's still in Dubai. He travels back and forth, meets the family and all. While you've been here for, it's been what, like 4 years, 5 years now?
Almost 4 years, yes.
Yeah. So
2019.
So I would like you to talk about how did you go about deciding on that, and then how did you manage it? So frankly speaking, I don't know exactly in which details to go and what to ask, but if you can share whatever you can share as to how you managed it, how you created a win out of it for your family, for your daughter, for your husband, for yourself as well. So floor is all yours. I don't know where you want to start from, but if you can just shed some light there.
Okay, I'll start from where it started. When we landed here in 2017, we still had some time to think about it. We went back. We took over a year to decide whether to move or not. And then finally, we were supposed to come together. It was not initially a split arrangement. We were all supposed to come together, but then he had some project that he was working on and he had to stay back. And it worked out well because we thought that the two of us are going to come and see that if we really want to live here, rather than just wind up everything there and then come here and hate the place, not like it, and cry every day that, oh, I wish we didn't do this. I wish we had the opportunity to go back. So we thought we'd give it a shot and see where, in the meantime, he's going to finish his project and then he'll join us here. So this was the initial project. And then another factor, let me tell you, what is most important is where you're coming from. For somebody who's moving from Pakistan or India, who's already used to paying taxes, who's coming for there's obviously a better lifestyle here. It's a win-win situation for them. It's a no-brainer. They will not even think twice, I think. But for somebody who's moving from the Middle East, not used to paying taxes, making good amount of money, it's very hard. So it keeps pulling them back, right? So this was one thing that kind of made him stay there for a little bit. COVID hit then when he was supposed to come here. COVID hit, the world was at a standstill. Everybody who we spoke to said, okay, as long as you have a very good job, just stick to it for now. Nobody knows what's happening to the world. Nobody knows what the future holds for people. So he did consider coming here every year. Every time when he was here in the summer, he did meet people, but there was nothing that could actually match the amount of money he was making there, the lifestyle he had there. And for somebody who's at a mid-career level, already achieved so much in life, it's very hard to go and start from scratch again. So this was one thing that held him back.
Cool. But now the question is, which is, how did you manage it here with your daughter? I'm sure there's a part of him managing at the split arrangement in Dubai as well. But that's one part of it, given we are talking about you here. So how did you manage it for yourself, for your daughter? And what I mean is just regular life, like one, assimilating in the culture, second, not having an extra help at home or extra parent at home. So how do you how often do you connect and things like that?
I will not say that it was easy. Initially, it was very hard. There were times that I would think that I'm just stuck in quicksand and there's no way out. Yeah. But then I think with time, all you have to do is just be positive about things, think about the future, why you're doing this, when you have target and your goal in mind, then automatically you start working towards achieving it, right? So I knew that I was doing it for my daughter. The struggles that initially we had to go through when we were looking for jobs and we were struggling. We came from Pakistan. I didn't want her to go through all that struggle. I wanted her to go to the best university. I still want to. So I knew that we're doing it for a good cause. We're doing it for her, and that kept me going. And also another thing, that COVID did play a very important role. We got time to, when the world was completely shut down, we had time for each other. The two of us, we kind of bonded a lot together. I did not have to rush to go to work. The two of us took it easy. We spent time together, played a lot of games, made amazing friends in the neighborhood. We would walk a lot, chat a lot with people. I was lucky that I found a very good community within the neighborhood. So that made life a little easier, that I knew that there are people around me which are nice, genuine, actually willing to help. So that did make it a lot easier. I was also very lucky to score. I was also very lucky to score a job right away. So I started applying in, I think, December, but then I knew I was traveling back to Dubai. So I thought, okay, January I come back and I'll formally start applying, sending my resumes. And within the first week, I scored my first job, but I was supposed to start 7 in the morning and I had no help at home. School starts at 8:50 here. So she was not enrolled in the before and after school program. It was a huge wait list, so I could not take that job. But then one after another, and this was the third job after that I got, was a part-time position, supply position, but at least I set my foot in the door and I started working. So this was one thing. I started meeting more people, started making connections, and at least I was not sitting at home getting depressed all the time. I was going out meeting people while she was at school. So this made life a little more easier.
That's amazing. So I would like to explore more on your how you got the job and all, but let's hold on to that. One final question on the split arrangement. I'm sure there are many people who are still in the same situation you were 5 years ago, deciding whether to go cold turkey, all family together, or split. For those who kind of decided that they want to do a split setup now, what are the tips that you would give to the women who are coming here with their children with regards to how to make it successful? Like any 1, 2, 3 tips that you can share?
I will tell them that it's not going to be easy, but just hold on, just wait, give it time. And also, just rather than sitting and crying about the whole situation and saying that I'm alone, I mean, just learn to make the best out of everything. Look at the positive side of it. And if you come with more than one child, that makes life a lot easier, because I had a few friends that moved with 2 or 3 kids. They're busy. They're busy with each other. If you have older children, you could actually, if I had to tag along with me everywhere, even if I had to go fill gas, I had nobody to leave her with, so she would tag along. But whereas my other friend, she moved here with 3 kids. One of them was a teenager, so she could easily leave the other 2, the younger ones, with the teenager at home and just go down to errands and stuff. Even during COVID, if I had to go, I had to expose her to everything because she was with me all the time. So it's, I would suggest that if you have more than 2 or 3 children, it's not going to be difficult at all. I mean, it is going to be difficult, but then it's going to be easy in the sense that you can actually depend on the older ones to help you with babysitting and other taking the garbage out, things like this. Whereas I was alone, I had to do everything by myself. But it wasn't that difficult. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't that difficult either. It's doable. It's doable. It's doable.
Got it. Thank you.
And the other thing is also, just don't feel sorry for yourself at all. Your husband's going through the same thing. So just remember that he's alone. At least you have kids here. If you're with 2 or 3 people in the house, at least you have somebody to talk to, somebody to share your sorrows or something with. But that person is alone over there and he has nobody to talk to. So keep that in mind and don't feel sorry for yourself, because both of you are in the same kind of situation.
So you know what you just said about the other party as well, or your spouse being in the same situation. I completely agree, because when I did a split arrangement, let's say for like 3-4 months, and I always thought that, oh, my wife's so miserable, or my kids would be so miserable, and I would feel sorry for them. But what I realized was, since they were together, they were happier. because they still had more part of family with them, while I was miserable because I was really alone. And you always, like as a boy or as a man, you kind of think you're at times happy when your wife or your family is away for a day or two. You enjoy playing games and stuff. But then every other friend that you have is already married. They don't invite you in their social circle. Well, they'll meet you, but they're also bounded and all. So you realize that you're kind of very lonely. While my wife there was still having kind of a relatively a blast versus me, and I realized I was feeling sorry for them. Actually, I should have felt sorry for myself.
Yeah.
So that piece I completely agree.
And I think as nature-wise, women, they socialize more, they talk more, they take it out of their system more than men do. So I feel bad for my husband more because he has nobody to actually share things with, because he, like you said, most of his friends are married. They have their own plans on the weekend, and he's by himself mostly. Even on the weekends, he's waiting for us. Though also one more challenge is the time difference. When you have to find the time to communicate, to talk, because usually what happens is now that when he comes home from work, I'm at work.
Agree.
We have to sort of find time. Sometimes I feel so bad for him. He wakes up in the middle of the night to talk to he makes it a point that he comes out of office once in a while and just checks on us, comes out of the meeting or goes out. If she wants to see him in the morning, that's what she says, I want video call because I want to see you. So he has to actually walk out of his office and show her his face before she goes to school. So there are things that you have to do. You have to make it work somehow. It's going to be challenging, but then you have to somehow work around and see why you're doing it and keep that going.
Makes sense. I think you need to have a strong why, and you need to keep that why in front of you. So it makes sense. Now let's come to the other part, which is about the job. Now on my channel I speak a lot about getting job, getting hired and all, but I'm sure there's an element of you being a woman and getting a job here. I just want to understand, and if you can talk about or any advice you can give as to how you were able to ace a job so fast, and what is the advice that you would have for other women who are looking for jobs, and how to go about it. So again, the floor is open. Let me know where you want to start from, and then we can take any direction.
When I came here, we met you guys, and your wife, my childhood friend, she suggested that I go to the employment center here in Oakville, very close to our house. And I think that was the best advice, because things don't work the same way as they do in Dubai. From the resume, everything's different here. The hiring process, how people look at things, what their people would want, a very lengthy resume. I think I had a 3-page resume, which they suggested that I just shrink it into 1 page. They change a lot of things. They prepare you for interview. They send you to different places to do mock interviews for you. I mean, there's so many free services that the government provides. So you just have to get connected to the right sort of people, basically, and just use the guidelines that they share with you and just work around, and I think that makes it a lot easier. This is exactly what I did. I went to the community center, I attended their workshops, I switched my resume around the way they asked me to do, and that's how I started applying.
Cool. Can you also speak of, and I think I should have asked this question early, where do you work?
I work for the Halton region for childcare. So it's a childcare center, because my previous experience was in early childhood education in Dubai as well. I was working for a British nursery. So I used the same experience. I'm an MBA from my education is totally different. But it's a long story. I started working in childcare when my daughter started nursery. So that was the experience that I had. So the lady who was my consultant or counselor in the community, the resource center, she said that just use that as, just forget about your interview, use your experience to score a job here, because once you start working, then obviously you get any other offers, you can switch around, but just use that experience, because that experience is very good. You have a solid experience. The childcare center that I was working for in Dubai was ranked #1
Nice.
for a couple of years. So she said, just highlight that on your resume. So that's one thing that I used. And it kind of, because all the other jobs that I was applying, administration related or my education related, because my the training or the 6-week internship that I had to do for my MBA was in oil marketing. It was all different. So that I was using was not helping me here.
So that was another question I wanted to ask. Did you try switching fields altogether and say, okay, because there's also this understanding that it's difficult to get into the education sector, and maybe I'm wrong about that. This is just hearsay, because people think that it's more government related, and it's difficult to get government jobs, and hence teaching is tough to get in. You have to do some courses, and it's like you being a doctor here. You can't just use the same degree that you had back from your home. Rather, you have to come here and you have to do the certifications again. So can you talk a little bit about that? One, why did you stick to a school or education? And is this true that you need more certifications and education, or no?
It is true to a very large extent. It is not easy to score a job, but I'm not working with the school board. Let me just clarify that.
Okay.
It's harder to work in the school board. I'm working for the region, but this is early childhood education. So I'm a pre-kindergarten teacher. We prepare them for big school. So basically it's that. It's not government, it's non-profit. So it's not a government job at all. I do work for the region, but it's a non-profit organization. It has nothing to do with the government. Secondly, yes, you have to go through a lot of trainings and certifications and diplomas for early childhood education. But considering my previous experience and the trainings that I had gone through, they kind of did a scenario test for me, and that's what let me in.
Oh, that's pretty nice. That's cool to know. The next question I have is, did you, after starting the job, did you move around? Did you move? And the reason I ask is because one understanding here in Canada is that your first job would be probably lower than what you had before in Pakistan, India, Dubai, but then you quickly make your way up. So can you speak to that? Like, how did you progress through your job? How was it like? How easy was that?
Luckily where I started, their pay scale is slightly above the market average. So I was almost making the same amount of money that I was making in Dubai. So this was one thing. And then I did not switch around a lot. I tried applying for some other jobs while I was just doing the initial part-time supply stuff. I used to go and cover in teachers because I did not have after-school care. So I could only work from 9 to 2. And I used to go to the gym from 2:15 to 3 o'clock, pick her up at 3:20 because she was not allowed in the gym either. And I had nobody to leave her with. So I had given them my availability from 9 to 2. And usually every day I was booked pretty much every day because people normally have doctor's appointments and this and that. And teachers, they need that morning time. So they used to book me. I would go cover them while they did their stuff. And during that time, I was constantly applying for other jobs. But the only offers that I was getting was from the same profession. I would apply at doctors' clinics, admin offices here and there, whatever was close to my house within Oakville. I would apply to each and every job, pretty much everything that was related somehow to my education and my background. But the only offers and interview calls that I was getting was from the childhood sector.
Got it. So, and that is one question which I kind of asked
and
before.
And the other thing, that you make your way up, let me tell you about that. There were constantly jobs posting within the organization as well. Like, you can always switch within the organization. So the first year, actually, when we opened after COVID, I was given a full-time opportunity. I picked that, like I applied for a full-time opportunity. There was a job posting and I applied for that. By then I had many people had pulled their kids out of after school care because they were working from home.
Yeah.
So this is how Alishba got in, because she was on the
Okay.
wait list from the day I came here, and that's how she got a position in the YMCA at school. So I was lucky that I got hired right away for that position. So I started working full time, and then there was another opportunity that they posted that the director needed somebody to cover her when she was off. So the alternate director position was open. I even applied for that, and now I'm also working as the alternate director.
Nice. That's a
So
really that's an
so
amazing
that
story.
is, I agree, it is true that you can make your way up if you are determined and if you're kind of on the right track.
Cool. Thank you. Now, one more question, and again related to job. Given you are a visible minority, and when I say visible minority is because of the scarf, which like I'm kind of visible as well from my color, but I think the one you hold is more significant in appearance. Have you ever felt any call it racism, call it at work or maybe outside in Canada because of your scarf or because of your identity, or no in Canada?
Not at all. Not even once. I think they're very open, they're very respectful. There are times when I pray at least 3 times at work, because when the days are shorter, they know
Nice.
that I have to pray. They accommodate that. There's a room that I've dedicated a space for my prayer. And everybody, they're very respectful. Even if they have to enter that room, that's our storage room, we keep our supplies there, and they apologize, they open the door, they apologize, and they were of that opinion maybe they can't enter a room when Tooba is praying. But I said, no, you can do anything. It won't
Yeah.
it won't bother me. You just come, do your thing, go. It doesn't matter. All I'm going to do is just silently do my thing. So they're very, very open and respectful.
Cool. Thank you. So on the same lines as you being able to so well assimilate in your workplace, can you also talk about how you were able to assimilate within the Canadian society or where you live in your neighborhood and all? I know you talked about you have some family here, but still, I've also seen here that people are really busy here. And you don't get the same kind of social network or social circle that you would get back home in Pakistan and Dubai. And especially given, let's talk about yourself as well. Although you were working back there in Dubai as well, but you would agree there are a lot of women who don't work given the kind of incomes that men make, and which allows for a lot of time on hand, and you can assimilate and you get all the chances and all. How did you go about doing that in Canada? How was your experience?
I do have family here, which you mentioned, but they're all far away. Like my mom's sister, she lives here. She used to live here. Now when I moved here, she spends most of her time in Dubai. So it's a coincidence, but she lives mostly with her other son, who lives in Dubai. So I did not have support from her because A, her house is 100 kilometers away from where I live, and B, she's not here most of the time. So I could not count on her. Yes, I do have family in Mississauga, my husband's cousins, but obviously you can't meet everybody every day. Like you said, life is very busy here. So I had to find people around in my neighborhood because I need people around me all the time. That's just me. I just love hosting people. I just love chatting with people, going for walks with people. So what helped me most was, again, in COVID, people had nothing to do. Basically, they were just stuck in their houses. So in the evening, people would just come and sit outside in the patio or walk around the neighborhood. That's how I got to know so many people, because the kids would play outside and we women would chat around, walk with each other. And this is what helped me know who's in my neighborhood, their background, where they're from. People had more time on hand because they were not rushing to go to work, to come back from work, get the dinner going, take kids to swimming and other classes. So this helped me a lot, I think. And then nobody knew who their neighbors were here. My next door neighbor says that I was kind of the one who got all the neighbors together. So this was one thing that she keeps coming and saying that, oh, because of you now we know everybody else. So it's a good thing to hear.
No, that's brilliant. I should also say that's a personality trait as well. Not easily learned, but you need to have some personality for that as well. So, Tooba, this has been brilliant. Great chat. Maybe we'll explore another podcast some other time on a topic we want to dive deeper. But just before I end, is there any message for someone who's planning, as a woman who's planning to move to Canada, immigrate to Canada, looking for a job, coming as a single parent? Any message for them?
Again, like I mentioned several times, do not give up. Do not feel sorry for yourself. Do not, because it's your decision. Nobody pushed you to come here, right? You decided to come here. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but initially when things start working out for you, you will love the place, you will start having fun, and everything will eventually work out. I remember times where I would cry on my way to work because I had to leave my child for 9 hours with the neighbor because schools were off. She was doing virtual schools, I think lasted for 5 months in 2021. Yeah, 2021. From spring break all the way up to September, she was at home and I had to go to work every single day. I would be like, oh, again, I have to leave her. But then eventually everything just worked out and here we are, sitting happily. Our time is done. We've completed our 3 out of 5 years and I've already applied for citizenship. Everything worked out perfectly. So
cool. That's great. And again, congrats for doing this. I hope our children would value the sacrifices we've made as parents. And thanks for this chat. This was really helpful. And I hope people will also, who will see this, will find value from your experience. And thanks for connecting.
No problem.
Thank you
for having me. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you. Now, in case you found value in this podcast, I'm sure you will also find value in another video that I made where I talk about how to get a job in Canada fast. Check out the video here. Other than that, I've made another video with regards to assimilating in Canada as a new immigrant where I talk about the mistakes that you need to avoid. Check out the link here. Thank you.